Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Life Show episode 7-1 tonight on this early Thursday afternoon. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim and Kyle. You guys say hi real quick.
Hey guys, Tim here.
Hey, Kyle.
So we're contemplating moving the show to an earlier time. Just seems to fit our schedules a little bit better. So you guys feel free to let us know thoughts on that. We're kind of testing it 2 weeks in a row now, so we'll see how this goes. But lots of stuff, as usual, to talk about. Before we get going, though, did you guys see Amazon numbers on the Fire phone? They just came out like within the last hour.
Yeah, I heard it's not very good.
It is not good. So we talked about the Fire phone being a massive flop. It's officially a massive flop. TechCrunch must have been listening into their earnings call or looked at the numbers. And Amazon's taking a $170 million write-down because they overcommitted to their suppliers. And they apparently have $83 million in Fire phone inventory just laying around. That is insane. That's officially one of the biggest flops I think ever. So, anyways, that just came across and we thought we'd laugh at that for a second. Let's see. On the show today, we want to talk. Well, since Tim and I did our sort of special Nexus edition chat last week, we got Lollipop, a brand new Android 5.0 preview that came out for the Nexus 5 in 2013, Nexus 7. We've been talking about that like crazy for a week, so we thought we'd weigh in on that. The Nexus 9 went up for pre-order, as did the Nexus Player. Nexus 6 now has a pre-order date. The DROID Turbo's unveiling is Tuesday. Tim and I each reviewed a couple of phones. We also have a Galaxy Note 4 now, by the way. We have a G-Watch R in-house, and then Google released a brand new email app, which we'll talk about. So let's jump into Lollipop. Well, first of all, have either guys... Well, Kyle, you don't have a Nexus 5. Tim has a Nexus 5. Tim, did you ever flash the new preview image?
I flashed it to the Nexus 7.
Oh, the Nexus 7. I still have to do that because I haven't actually looked at it on a tablet. I feel like all the apps look awesome, I think, don't they?
Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Some would argue. I mean, Android, well, large screen and tablet apps on Android, it's been a battle ever since the beginning, I think you know.
Yeah.
So, ecosystem, definitely not 10, but it's getting a little bit better. I think material design definitely helps a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. So we've spent a lot of time with it. I've tried to cover a whole bunch of new features that are going on in 5.0, at least on the Nexus 5. And it's one of those things I just can't wait for it to show up, like on the Moto X, because the Moto X is basically stock Android. And then it'll be interesting to see what some of the OEMs do with their skins. I'm afraid they're just going to make it terrible. Like we saw that Samsung Lollipop early build, and it just looked like TouchWiz. But you know, there's cool things. Google's just slowly kind of doing, that thing they do where they build in features that OEMs have kind of been doing, so that they just make Android this sort of ultimate powerful version of Android that doesn't need a skin kind of thing. But let's see, we know it's coming on the Nexus 5 November 3rd, or I'm sorry, the Nexus 9 November 3rd. We have an SDK out. But there are rumors and stuff that suggest like the Nexus 10, I think, and both Nexus 7s could see updates as early as the 3rd when the Nexus 9 shows up. So we could get builds fairly soon. I would imagine we might see factory images on November 3rd. I don't know about OTA updates, but I would say that. And we should also see it go to AOSP. So anything in particular you guys saw in any of the Android 5.0 stuff that you thought was awesome? Tim on the tablet? Kyle, just in general?
Yeah, well, since you have first-hand experience, Tim, why don't you go ahead first?
Thank you, Kyle. So far for me, I dig the basic user interface design changes that we've seen, and it hasn't changed too much from the first developer preview that we flashed all the way back at Google I/O. Like, I mean, it's not like a complete build, I feel like, but it definitely feels a bit more refined. Definitely looks good. I feel bad it's up. I was using it last night to watch Netflix, so I don't have it right on me. But definitely, I think the lock screen is so far my favorite thing. Just being able to, just the way things kind of work now, and you can interact with certain notifications now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to get, say I'm in Lollipop. I could just go. I don't want to get into a rant right now, but I really want to see Lollipop on the new Moto X. I think that would just be the perfect experience. So.
Because you get that Moto suite of apps on top of the beauty that is Lollipop.
Exactly, and it's not a huge device like the Nexus 6.
I was going to say, it's just because you wish the Nexus 6 was the same size, basically.
A little smaller, exactly.
Although at the same time, the Nexus 6 it apparently won't have access to like the Moto suite. So I really would, I think, rather get Lollipop on the Moto X than the Nexus 6, even if the Nexus 6 was small. Just because I want those Moto apps. Like Motorola is clearly leading the charge in terms of software add-ons, and then you get
useful software add-ons. Okay. I think should be the
That's true.
Key word.
That's true. Useful, yes, that is very true.
At the same time, though, it's still going to. I mean, well, these are features inherent to Lollipop, but the Nexus 6 is still going to have, for example, a form of touchless control where you're going to be able to activate voice, without having to charge it or have it plugged in. So it's not like you're sacrificing a ton.
That's true.
And from a hardware standpoint, it's kind of an upgrade too.
It's also going to have basically Moto Display, or used to be called Active Display. And I think we talked about that. I think Tim and I talked about that last week, that there was this little note at the bottom of the Lollipop highlights that said, depending on hardware, your phone will either activate when you pick it up, or you could double tap to wake and stuff like that. And most people seem to miss that. And we talked about that, I think, from day one. But so yeah, basically the Nexus 6 is going to have Moto Display. It's just kind of like Google's take on it. Basically, when a notification comes up, it'll light up just like certain pixels, or if you pick it up, the display will sort of light up just certain pixels, kind of like it does with Moto Display. So you're right, you do kind of get that. And then yeah, because the OK Google will be always on if you want it to be, you could sort of do it that way as well. Well, it's not quite as robust as Moto's Moto voice and Moto Display. It still will kind of give you that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. I should look through some of the things that I've been talking about that I thought was cool. Well, Android Beam is actually useful now. Well, it will be when everyone has Lollipop, because you can actually send files and stuff like that to one another, which is awesome.
And it's in the share menu now, right?
Yeah, it's in the share menu, so you could basically send anything through it. Although it was kind of weird. I tried to I sent an APK to another phone, did that instantly. I tried to send just a .zip file, and it kept failing on me, so that's kind of odd. Did you guys see that thing I did about the Chrome tabs being a part of the app launcher?
Yeah.
This is like the worst idea ever, I think.
Thank God it's optional.
Yeah, it's definitely optional, or they could fix it too. So basically, if you guys missed it, Chrome tabs, at least in the beta, can be a part of the app switcher in Lollipop. So when you hit the app switcher and you're in another app, you can basically see all of the tabs you have open in Chrome. The problem is, when you open up Chrome, Google has taken away like the quick tab switching up at the top, so you can't swipe between tabs or hit the little tab button that shows you how many tabs you have open. So if they just bring that back and then also keep tabs in the app switcher, it'd be totally fine. So hopefully they do that. It's just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Let's see. Let's say, Tim, what you mentioned, that lock screen notification access. That stuff's actually cool. What's really funny is I had so my wife dropped her red Nexus 5 and it broke, and so I had to give her the black Nexus 5 I had around, and it just so happened to be running one of the other preview builds, and that was one of the things she hated about it. I had to flash it back to KitKat because she was like, I don't like all this stuff on my lock screen. Like, I think she wanted to just see a picture or something on the lock screen. And I think it's awesome because a lot of the stuff you just swipe down, you can interact with it right there. You don't even need to open up the device, which is kind of nice. But
yeah, like, sorry, I think you just have to get used to things.
Yeah.
You never know that you need something until Google says you need this, and then you're like, after a couple of weeks, you're like, okay, I need this, or that's nice.
And not to sound like an elitist or anything, I suppose, but I mean, a lot of these features are kind of old hat to me because they've been on custom ROMs for ages. So
that's true.
Like notifications on the lock screen just sounds passe.
Kyle's definitely a hipster. Like, it's just I knew about this before it was cool.
I had this
Right.
in ROM days ago. Yeah.
Exactly.
The other cool thing that Google finally added, which like Motorola has been doing for a while, is trusted devices. So if you have a Bluetooth device attached to your phone, you could use it to bypass secure lock screens, which is awesome. Like everyone should just do that. Like if you own an Android Wear device or you have a Bluetooth headset or your car, you should set those up as trusted devices so you can easily get into your phone, and then if you get away from them, it locks and stuff like that. So. Yeah, so the 5.0, there's a brand new preview. Again, it's only available for the Nexus 5 and the 2013 Wi-Fi Nexus 7. It's pretty stable, though. I did flash it on the Nexus 5 and used it a lot, and it's doing this thing. This used to happen in launchers long ago, where you'd go into like an app and you'd mess around, and you hit home, and when it goes back home, there's this
redraw.
Yeah, that redraw.
Yeah.
So it's doing that to me. On the next, it wasn't doing it at first, and then I installed a bunch of apps and kind of made it my phone for a few days and started doing that. So I would imagine they're going to polish that up, but it's kind of frustrating. I wouldn't expect that to happen in the final build, that's for sure.
I think a lot of the transitions, though, I mean, that issue aside, are really slick. And
yeah.
They almost seem to make like, the Nexus 5 seem faster. I know they're just like covering, app loading, that sort of thing, and app launching. But yeah, I hate to use this phrase, but it's almost more iOS-like in a way,
I know what you mean, because just when you touch something, there's a transition rather than just like a screen flash and it opens. There's like a transition into it now.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of agree too. Although I think what Google's doing now, it's taking that and stepping it up one more notch, just because of like all the rippling effects and some of the different transitions they're doing. It's cool. I mean, if you play with Lollipop, you can seriously you can play with it because there's all these like transitions and you'll see like a different motion and movement depending on what you're touching and where you're scrolling. It's really cool.
The animations are definitely top of it. I mean, kind of goes without saying. Sorry, maybe I should have been more specific. Like, I dig the look, as in the animations and the transitions and all the minor things they don't really think would be a big deal for an OS, but when you see it translated onto a smartphone and you're interacting with it, it does feel like a living, breathing like entity of sort, and to be in that like Matthias cult. But I mean, he really brought Android to life and to a whole new level, and so all hail Matthias. But yeah, he's done great so far. I like what the team has done.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone would argue that interface has been Android's strong point.
Right.
Like Kit Kat and Ice Cream Sandwich were minor steps up and much needed steps up, but like this is a whole nother level, it feels like.
It really is a crazy new level. Like it seems with every new big version of Android, they introduce a new design language or something, and we always go, this is the most beautiful thing ever, it's so amazing. This is crazy. I mean, from Jelly Bean to Kit Kat to this, it is so... They've clearly been working on this for a couple of years, I would think. It's just cool. Like, yeah, it does feel kind of like a living, breathing thing. Like, you touch stuff, and it like... And I guess that, that's the point, right? That's part of material design, is to feel like you're actually touching a piece of paper or whatever, and like when you touch things, they come to life. And like, it actually does that. It's crazy. It's fun. It's just fun to play with.
So now developers just have to jump on board.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's a pain when they add a completely new dimension, to developing, and I just can't imagine. First you were dealing with X, Y, and then they add on Z, and it must be a complete pain in the rear to develop for Android, just because things change so much.
Yeah.
But
come on, it's their job, right?
It is, but some of these guys aren't that talented. No offense. Not all developers are as talented as Matthias.
Right.
And designers. And so, like, a lot of these guys are, like, one-man shops, and they have to do the designing and the developing and coding and all that stuff and put together an app and actually make it awesome. That, like, I just don't know that a lot of guys have. Like you said, there's, like, another dimension. There's, like, layers now. I mean, when Matthias was talking about this stuff at I/O, he was like, there's layers and levels and textures, and I was like, no way are half the developers in this world going to understand any of that. Hopefully there's just like the basic, like this is the basic material design guidelines. Start here, and we have like tools that automate half of it for you.
That would be good.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the case. It's not like I've looked into it since I'm not a developer, but that would be nice. It should be interesting to see. Kyle and I have talked about this a little bit, how it might be painful for a while to watch developers try to figure out Lollipop and material design. But
Well, do you remember that template they released like years ago, and you were able to make your own little cat app? Like you could input a picture of a cat, press a button, and it go meow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's something in place for developers who struggle with this, and luckily Google I/O or through the development console, I think they have tools for these developers who don't have the Ivy League educations in development and design. So
Yeah, the ones who didn't go to Stanford. But
Right.
yeah, they are providing. Yeah, I have seen Google provide templates and assets, like icons that are styled with material design in mind, that kind of thing. So they're definitely trying to help people along, but it's really just incumbent on the developers to take initiative there. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see, all apps updated to material design on day one.
No.
There are plenty of, gingerbread apps, essentially, in terms of aesthetics still out there, and I don't think that's going to change. And that's just how Android is.
Right.
I mean,
So you're telling me Facebook is not going to be updated to material design anytime soon?
I know, that's just a shocking thought, isn't it?
Oh man.
And the Charles Schwab app I have on my phone that I swear was released during the like 2.3 days.
Hasn't been touched since.
No,
Probably
no.
like the least secure app on the planet.
It probably is. It probably like transfers everything in plain text.
Probably does. Probably does.
It scares me, but it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to watch. Well, we'll write up, these apps as they all get redone, and we'll probably critique on whether or not they've done a good job or not, which is terrible of us to do, but okay, for an example, not to just throw somebody out there right now, but Feedly, the RSS reader app, it got an update today, and I went into the changelog, and it said top of the changelog Android 5.0, and I just went, oh my god, it's going to be a really sweet design change, material design, all this stuff, and I opened it, and it has the pulled out hamburger menu that kind of floats now, and then I swiped from the side, and I didn't get all the Google apps now have that animation where it turns into the arrow. So it didn't do that, which was super disappointing. And then nothing else had really changed. I think the font changed and maybe they moved some spacing, and that was it. That was their Android 5.0 update. Super disappointing.
See, I thought that meant just Android 5.0 compatibility or something. But
That could have been what it meant, yeah. But they did change a little bit of the look, so I got excited initially and then just totally went, "Mrr."
Yeah, that's why I use third-party RSS readers. But
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, 5.0. There's a full. It's basically it's not final. It's still a preview, but it's probably pretty close to being final. And it's out for the Nexus 5, Nexus 7, and then November 3rd, it could get wild. We could see images and AOSP and all that stuff because that's when the Nexus 9 comes out. So, moving on. So, Nexus 6 and Nexus 9. Obviously, Tim and I talked about their unveiling on last week's show. In terms of new stuff, Nexus 9 pre-orders are open. They're open at Google Play, Amazon, and Best Buy. Nexus opened at Amazon a day early, which was interesting. And then Best Buy went live, and then Google Play was last to go live, of course. So they are, what is it, $399 for the 16 gig Wi-Fi, $479 for the 32 gig Wi-Fi, and then the LTE version will be $599, but I don't think you can even pre-order it yet. And everywhere is expecting to ship by November 3rd, which is kind of the launch day. So we know the keyboard folio is $129. I think I called that maybe on last week's show. I can't remember if I was exact yet.
You said 149.
Oh, I said 149. Okay. So at least it was under what I said, because 149 would have been really ridiculous. $129 though for a keyboard. Would you guys pay that for a keyboard thing?
well, I mean, how much is a Surface keyboard?
I don't know.
They're essentially the same thing, right? So,
Oh.
I mean, if it's comparable, I think it is comparable, but that doesn't seem too outrageous, I guess, because it does have a backlight, right? Or does it not?
The touch cover is $93. There's also a type cover. Oh, the type cover too, $90. That's the real keyboard.
I think so.
Okay, so the type cover 2 is $90.
Okay, the more expensive one is the real keyboard, actually. So
that's not it.
Okay, does the keyboard
Folio
have a backlight though?
That I don't know. We haven't actually seen this thing in action, the Nexus 9 keyboard. So Google allowed like really limited press to see the Nexus 9 and Nexus 6 this week at their headquarters, and they only gave everyone like 15 minutes, and they didn't have the keyboard there, so we haven't even really seen it in action. So I'm not even sure.
Looks like no backlight. Okay, in that case, I think the price is a little outrageous.
It's always outrageous. It's Google Play accessories. I mean, you get a sleeve for your Nexus 7 is like $40. So anything that has function, I mean, that's a premium of at least 200% markup. So.
Yeah, the Nexus accessories are always crazy overpriced, but yeah, $129 seems a bit much. So there's, not to get back on the Surface, but there's a type cover and a touch cover, and they're both around $90 to $100. So
and those both have backlights, so
yeah. So
I don't know what the excuse is for the folio cover.
I have no idea, and you have to charge it via USB, I think, or something like that too, right?
But the battery life is pretty good. I think it's like a month or something. So
yeah, that's right. So I don't know. Like I pre-ordered one from Amazon so that we can test it, but that seems like a lot. I don't know that I'd recommend everyone go spend $130 on a keyboard for your tablet.
Especially your Android tablet, which may not have a lot of apps you can use it with or would want to use it with.
Yeah, there's supposedly in Lollipop, that was another new feature. They supposedly improved keyboard input or compatibility, basically just so they could do it for the Nexus 9, I think. But that is one of the things they did add, I believe. Let's see. Then the other accessory is a cover, which Amazon's calling like a magic cover, and Google's just calling it a cover, I think. So I don't know what it is, but it's $40. So another arguably overpriced accessory, official accessory. It comes in 4 colors: black, gray, and yellow, maroon and orangish, and like teal and something. So $40 for that bad boy. You can pre-order that on Amazon too. I ordered everything from Amazon. Like we'll get a Nexus 9 review unit, but then I bought us one because we'll have to send that one back, obviously. So I bought one for the site and a keyboard cover and one of those cover things. And I bought them all on Amazon because it seems like I will get them faster, right? Well, I mean, like Prime shipping. Like Google Play shipping is expensive, and it's not like it's slow, but it's expensive. So
they don't give you a definitive date, you know. Well, if it says, 3 to 4 weeks or 4 to 5, they don't give you like a date, and that really sucks. But like Amazon's pretty darn good about giving you dates.
Yeah, they are. So
I was gonna ask, what color did you get?
In the tablet?
Yeah, white.
No, I think I got black.
Oh, sick. The white is hot.
Do you want me to cancel and reorder?
Cancel it all. White everything. I think like black tablets, so
they are pretty blah.
Hopefully Google.
I remember having a conversation about which one I should buy, and for some reason I talked myself into black. I don't know why that is, to tell you the truth, but I did.
Yeah, usually you're a white kind of guy.
Yeah, usually I like to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Neutral.
Yep, went black. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, readers. You have to look at a black Nexus 9 going forward. Hopefully they send us a white review, at least so we can get some pictures.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So Nexus 9 pre-order is open. If you want to buy it, you can certainly do that. Oh, the tan color not available yet. So even though they announced it, it'll be available someday. And I believe tan's also maybe only 32 gig Wi-Fi, so kind of limited there on the tan version. Nexus 6 pre-orders open October 29th. So if you're wondering, no, they're not open yet. That is next week. What is that, next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Next Wednesday, yeah. So next Wednesday, you can pre-order a Nexus 6 from Google Play. I don't know if you're going to be able to pre-order from anywhere else, but Google Play for sure. And yeah, still $649 for the 32 gig and $699 for the 64 gig. None of the carriers other than T-Mobile have really given us a price, and none of them have said anything about pre-orders. So T-Mobile basically just said November 12th we'll have it. They didn't say pre-ordered early. AT&T didn't. Verizon didn't announce anything about it, but I asked them directly, and their PR team said, yes, we're carrying it. And I asked a whole bunch of questions, too, like, how is this going to work? Are you guys done testing it? All kinds of stuff like that. And they said, yeah, we're not answering any of that stuff, but, yep, we are carrying it. So there's some questions there about Verizon and how that's going to work. So if you guys remember last year's Nexus 7 LTE, was supposed to work on Verizon LTE, and then when it came out, people tried to go activate it, and it didn't work because Verizon didn't have any of the IMEIs in their system, and then they said, well, it wasn't approved, it's got to go through our approval process. It was like 3 months later, 4 months later, I can't even remember when the thing finally got approved.
It was longer than that.
It might have been, actually. So everyone's kind of wondering, like, how is this going to work? Like, if I pre-order a Nexus 6 on October 29th and it ships by the 12th and Verizon still hasn't said anything, like, is it going to work on Verizon? And we don't really know, to tell you the truth. So the tablet was one thing because the tablet only had LTE, didn't have Verizon CDMA. So you could just slap in your SIM card and it would work. But with CDMA involved, not really sure how that's going to work because I would imagine it would need to activate on CDMA, and they may need IMEIs in their system in order for that to work. A Verizon expert could probably confirm that, but there could be some issues there, but we're not really sure, and no one's really talking. Verizon hasn't, again, really said much. Google hasn't said much, so I think you should be able to order it. Pre-order it, and it should work. And hopefully you can just toss your SIM in and everything will be fine, but we don't know.
I'm going to do that, so I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be ordering one. Well, actually, we're hoping to have review units at some point next week, and yeah, I'll try every single SIM I have. So I have a T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon SIM. We'll throw them all in there and see what happens.
He's got Cricket, Simple Wireless, or whatever the heck is Solivay.
Those are all gone, and I don't think I'll ever have a Sprint SIM. Sorry, Sprint.
Do those even exist? Like a Sprint SIM?
Oh, I don't know. Do they? See, I don't even know. I stay as far away from Sprint as I possibly can.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Guess so.
They have to, right? They have to have
LTE, so
yeah.
I'm assuming.
It's pretty bad that none of us are really confident in whether or not Sprint has SIM cards. That's really bad.
Hey, you get a ton of data for a low price.
Yeah, what is it? What was the thing today? Gig
$20 per gig.
$20.
They're giving the data away.
They are just giving it away.
Because they certainly can't compete on any other front.
No, definitely not.
No. Did they announce they're shutting down WiMAX? Not to get on a Sprint thing.
Yeah, a while ago they did.
Okay.
Finally. It's about time.
Are they still doing that Spark thing? That was a cute little thing. That Spark stuff.
They're rolling it out.
I think they've kind of halted rollouts for now. So.
I think they have, actually.
Yeah.
So they're just cutting prices. They killed the family, and they're cutting prices. And
pretty much. That's the state of Sprint right now.
Yeah.
So.
Poor Sprint.
I feel kind of bad when the new CEO came in. I feel like I should have written him a thank you letter for killing the family, which is quite possibly the worst marketing campaign for any company in the history of anybody.
I thought it was pretty good considering they had Kevin Durant, that really funny kid who had the cool accent.
Okay, so
the
one that was the only good commercial was that when he goes, "Hey, Kevin Durant, you want to be part of my family?" Like, that was funny. The rest of them were terrible. It's just bad. Just bad.
I loathed every time that thing came on.
That one, yeah.
Kevin Durant's, like 6 stories tall.
Which he technically is in real life, probably, too.
Most definitely. He has a wingspan that is longer than I am tall, which is just ridiculous.
That is insane. Okay. So, yes, it's coming to Verizon, and we don't know how it's going to work. But it should be interesting, and we'll figure it out. And I'm sure you'll be fine. And hopefully there isn't drama. Can you imagine? I can almost see it now. The stories that go up that say Verizon blocking Nexus 6. I mean, it's going to happen. Like, the first guy that gets his Nexus 6 pre-order like a day early and tries to put a Verizon SIM in, even though it's a day early, he's going to, like, spam to all the blogs going, controversy. Can you believe this? Verizon is blocking us. Of course they did. And then Reddit goes, Reddit block Verizon. And then
it's because there's a precedent for it, though. It's not. It's like, you know, Verizon brought this on themselves. That's kind of what they're viewed as, the carrier that just, you know, does things their way. So
it is. That is true. I'm just saying I'm not looking forward to the like fake drama that's going to be created.
Yeah, it's going to be sensationalistic, but
for sure.
Hopefully they've worked everything out. I don't have confidence they have, but
I don't either, which is why they haven't said anything, because it's probably still in testing.
Like Nexus 6, what is that?
Yeah, we got that, but we have to put it through our testing now, and so yeah, it's going to be that the whole.
That's going to take half a year.
Yeah, it'll be Christmas, and you know what's going to happen then is then the controversy will be they're doing this to cannibalize sales so they can put the Droid Turbo out first, and then you know like there's probably like 6 theories you could come up with right now. I think that's probably number one is because I got pricing from someone today on the Droid Turbo that said $199 on contract, $599, and I tweeted that out, and like the first reply we got from a reader was, "Oh, look, there they go again, cutting prices to undercut the Nexus 6." And I just went, "Oh my God, that was the first response you had." So, not like, "Wow, that's actually a pretty reasonable price for the." No, it was, "Oh, doing it again to undercut the Nexus 6." I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, people in their Verizon conspiracy theories.
It's awesome. Great. I know, dude. I just laugh at them all.
Oh, they're great.
They are. So Nexus 6 pricing, we talked a little bit about it last week, and $649, $699. So after a week now, have you guys' thoughts changed, or what are your thoughts on that now? Is it too expensive? Is it just right? Does it make sense? Just kind of interested to hear what you have to say now.
Well, if the Droid Turbo is coming in at such a low price, then why can't the Nexus 6 be priced a little bit lower? So, no, I don't think that the high price is exactly justified, but at the same time, that's a premium device right there. If Samsung can charge, $650, $700, and AT&T can charge $850 for the Note 4, why can't Google make a couple shekels? It's kind of ridiculous. So good on them for trying to make some money. I mean, I'm fine with it. Their investors must be like, you know what? This whole Nexus program you guys got going on has been losing us. Like, you guys lose money every time you sell a device. How about you up those specs a little bit? Get a premium model out there and make some money.
Come on, Sundar. Make us some money.
Larry Page, you're killing me.
Yeah. Kyle, any thoughts on the price?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons it's probably more expensive is because of the insane number of bands it supports. I have to imagine stuffing all those radios in there wasn't cheap. But I mean, we have to see the on-contract pricing. But for an off-contract phone with the specs it has, I mean, it's just a super phone. I wasn't so surprised. I know a lot of people were disappointed that it doesn't seem like Google is subsidizing it this time around, but I don't know. It didn't really make a difference to me because I was going to buy it regardless. But would I like to have paid less, or I mean, do I wish I could get it for a cheaper price when it does come out? Yeah, but oh well, it's just going to be like every other unlocked phone.
Yeah. I still don't know. I guess my opinion is that it's priced like that because carriers are involved, and maybe that's how Google plans on hopefully selling more than a couple 100,000 or however many Nexuses they sell. I mean, they don't tell us. We don't really know, but like I put together a pricing chart, and basically every time a carrier is involved with a Nexus phone, the price goes whoop. Like I forgot that the Galaxy Nexus LTE at Verizon was $699 off contract, and they wanted $299 on contract for that phone.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's ridiculous.
Google was selling it obviously without LTE, but unlocked for $399.
Yeah, I mean, if the choice was between offering it only on the GSM carriers, or pricing it a little higher so that they could get it on Verizon and Sprint, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So, like, with the Nexus 5, T-Mobile basically admitted that they were paying, I think it was like $450, and so that's what they were selling it for. And obviously, we know Google was selling the Nexus 5 for $349, so basically $100 more. And with this, does that mean, like Google could have sold it for like $550 or $500 maybe? We'll never know now because it's priced at $650 and $700. And I guess if you look at, like Tim said, the Galaxy Note 4 on AT&T's over $800. So the specs on this are equally, as good as that. Just doesn't have a pen. The display is probably not quite as good because Samsung makes really good displays, but it's still cheaper than that. And what's the iPhone 6 Plus? Does that start at like $750 or is it $650? What's the base model?
I think that's like what, $699 for the iPhone 6 Plus?
It might be. I should probably look that up too.
It's ridiculous. I just know the one I wanted was $1,000.
So expensive.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Apple can get away with it, which is, I think, it's so fantastic. They have a history of overcharging for their products, so no one's shocked when they're like, it's $1,000 phone. Okay, no big deal. I'll pay it, and no one cares. I love them.
I think it starts at $750. I'm trying to find it. I'm on Apple's store and it's not really telling me much. So if you go contract for $750. So the 16 gig iPhone 6 Plus, the contract free T-Mobile version, is $750. And then if you want 64 gig, it's $850, and then 128 gig is Tim's $1,000 $950 version.
I don't see how anyone can justify, selling a 16 gigabyte phone these days. Storage is so cheap.
Well, when you're a baller.
Can you imagine though paying $1,000 for your smartphone? And some people upgrade their phones every year. They get a new iPhone, top notch, top of the line, maxed out storage, $950. That's crazy.
Well, I think what's nice about iPhones is that they keep their resale value. So, say if someone had, a 5S or something, they could go and sell that still for a few $100s, put that towards the purchase of their next phone and stuff. Unlike Android phones, where it's like driving a new car off the lot. As soon as you turn it on, it's worth nothing.
Pretty much.
So.
Pretty much.
It sucks.
That is kind of sad. I never really thought about that, but you're right. Apple devices.
They're the Ferraris, and Android phones are the Hondas. And
Hondas hold value.
Okay, let me think. The Suzukis, anything that's crap. Well, not that Suzuki's crap. Okay, I'm just trying to name a name that's cheaper than Ferrari. So don't get mad at me if you own a Suzuki. I'm sure they make fine automobiles.
Actually, a Ferrari, not to just keep correcting that, but a Ferrari probably depreciates like crazy. Because you drive that off the lot at $250,000, it probably is only worth, once you put 80 miles on it, it's probably worth like $175,000.
It probably depends on the model of Ferrari. But yeah, I could see your point.
But anyways, yes. Apple devices hold their value. Android phones?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, so there you go. Nexus 6 is $100 cheaper than the 16 gigabyte iPhone 6 Plus, and it has double the storage, and it's also cheaper than the Note 4. So, I guess if you look at it that way, you're getting a deal. $650 is a deal. All right, I just kind of talked myself into that being a deal now. Thanks for helping me through that.
Yeah. I have someone in the chat saying the Samsung devices hold value. But
I think they're not bad, yeah.
They might hold value, but in my mind, if I was going to buy a used Samsung device, that thing is going to be a slow, run-down, janky piece of hardware. Because, anytime...
Because it's like that when you drive it off the lot.
Yeah, exactly. But, say, any phone that gets used for a little bit, especially like Samsung and TouchWiz, it just seems to get slower and degrades in, user experience. I'm sure if you wipe it, or something, it might be okay for a little bit, but smartphones, I just don't see them holding value unless it's an iPhone.
Yeah. That's really unfortunate. I wonder what HTC devices values like. That they're premium metal builds. Is the one M8 actually worth something if you try to resell it? I don't know. I haven't looked on Swappa.
Yeah, I think the best place to go would be Swappa.
Yeah.
So, the only iPhone that doesn't hold its value, from what I can tell, is the iPhone 5C. Sorry, Ron. But yeah, like my brother-in-law or my sister-in-law was looking for one. And I was like, go on Swappa, and they were on there for like $250. I was like, oh dang,
Crazy.
that's not bad.
All right, I'm on Swappa.
Swappa.
I'm googling everything on
Looks
this
like
episode.
I'm seeing one for 365.
Seeing one what?
No, an HTC One M8 on Swappa.
What
That's not
carrier?
bad.
Mint
Yeah.
condition.
Oh, mint.
Mint?
Yeah, one, and some are going for like 400. So
Let's see.
it's anywhere between like 450 to 350.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but are they selling? You know, that's the question. Like, you could price anything at whatever price you want, but do they sell?
I mean, look, this guy's. He took a picture of the iPhone 6, I think, and he's calling it the 1M8, and he included an OtterBox case, and he wants $425. I mean,
Well,
that's
that OtterBox case is going to bring up the value a little bit.
Seriously. Oh, maybe that's his profile picture. No, I don't think that is. But there's clearly a bot. Oh, that might be his profile picture. Okay, never mind. I take that back. Nathan P.
Come on, Nathan.
Well, it's a higher value than the G3 right now, which is like this isn't on Swappa, but it's like 300 on eBay used.
Yeah.
G3.
I don't know if you guys seen the chat, but in Miami on the Craigslist there, someone's selling a 1M8 for $200 that has a OnePlus Never Settle wallpaper on it. Oh man, that's hysterical. Oh gee. Oh, and it has like the white carbon fiber D skin back.
It does. Look at the in the application of it's all janky. Like look at the side, it's all like warped.
Oh, it
the
looks
skin is.
Oh yes. Oh.
Wow.
Sign me up.
Cool.
I love Florida.
I love Craigslist.
It's a great place.
It is. All right, so I don't know how we got onto that, just pricing in general. So Nexus 6 pre-order October 29th. Verizon, might as well. Actually, we ran a poll this week that said if you're buying the Nexus 6, what carrier you're going with, and like 60% said Verizon. So we're gonna find out if it's gonna work or not, or if Verizon's ready, or if something changes.
I'm camping out. I got my tent all ready to go. I'm sitting outside of the store, and then when they open, they're like, "We don't have it."
Okay, like what phone are you talking about?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, we got the iPhone.
It'll be select
you mean the iPhone
stores.
6 Plus, don't you?
Yeah, it'll be select stores for sure.
It'll be select stores.
Yeah.
I bet they'll have trouble manufacturing this phone or something. There'll be something. These Nexus launches are never smooth, even when it's just Google selling them. And now you've got 5 U.S. carriers involved, and Google, and probably Best Buy, and who knows who else. It's probably going to be.
Do we know who's making the display?
I do not know that, but it's an AMOLED, so
Probably the same supplier that makes the Moto X displays, right?
yeah. And I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either. You know, there's always just such like a big deal. You know, like part makers. Like when an iPhone's coming out, part makers are just like going crazy because they can't keep up with production, and like that makes news.
Oh, you mean like the Sapphire supplier?
Yeah, not necessarily, but just like the displays that they were using in the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, how someone was not able to keep up with demand or something, and that was news. But Motorola, they've got a 5.9-inch QHD display, and whoever's making that doesn't seem to really care. Like, it's no big deal. There's no huge frenzy for this phone, so...
It's probably not, but wouldn't it be funny if it was like Samsung or something?
Would be funny.
They make everybody's stuff, I mean, it's either going to be what, LG, Sharp, or Samsung. So I'm sure there's a few other companies that I don't know.
Is Sony making displays? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
They shut down their TV division, didn't they?
They sold it off or something, didn't they? I can't remember.
I think so.
Yeah, I can't figure out who. I tried to look up Moto X AMOLED supplier, and I got nothing.
Good luck.
Yeah, no one cares. That's why. Like right now when we actually need it, but. So yeah, it should be fun. Should be a fun launch as always. Nexus launches. That's next Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. Let's see. Next week, speaking of next week, DROID Turbo I'm pretty sure I can talk about this. I mean, there's a countdown on the site that says the counts down to October 28th, right?
What are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Go.
Verizon, if you're listening, you have a website that counts down to October 28th. DROIDdoes.com.
You didn't get the message about the embargo?
I don't think there's an embargo. It just said don't post the invitation. Basically, I think I've said it like 3 times already. Basically, I'm going to New York on Tuesday to talk about a droid. That's all I know. I don't know they haven't told me anything more than what DROIDdoes.com says. Anyways, we're expecting DROID Turbo on that day because why else would there be a countdown on DROIDdoes.com? Anyways, so that's coming next week. We're pretty sure, and that should be fun. I mean, we get the Turbo, then the Nexus 6, and the Nexus 9, and hopefully 5.0 West. This is just going downhill fast. Am I getting? Is like the legal document being written up right now? To like.
Yeah, I just got the email from Motorola and Verizon. See you in court.
Can't talk about this. It didn't say don't talk about it. It just said don't post the invite. I'd have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the DROID Turbo kind of has me excited, seeing more of these pictures and stuff. I mean, mine is, of course, the capacitive buttons, which just kill it. But it's actually kind of a cool-looking phone. It's smaller. It's kind of like what the Nexus 6 should have been in terms of specs, in size. But, I mean, it looks, like a Droid, which is unfortunate. I mean, why is the Droid name so synonymous with carbon fiber and bulky bricks,
angular designs? Yeah.
It kind of sucks. Like it makes it's kind of like
aggressive and massive.
Like, was there Kevlar anywhere in Star Wars?
Yeah.
No, there wasn't. I mean, I don't remember there being Kevlar, but like Verizon went, oh, Droid, we'll just borrow this LucasArts and Kevlar. I don't know how we got there. And they started doing those commercials with like motorcycle chases and crap, and then started blowing up robots, and then they were like, Kevlar makes sense. And here we are, like 4 years later with Kevlar on everything.
It's a shame they didn't go full on Star Wars, because that would have been at least somewhat interesting.
Well, they did. They went R2D2 and
no, I mean with the Turbo.
With the Turbo. Yeah.
Like 63PO edition.
Droid Millennium Falcon.
Like gold Droid Turbo would be
right,
sweet.
because gold is hot nowadays. So.
Oh, gold is so hot. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Their design team is just, whatever. They don't. Does anyone care?
It's
over there.
Theme. Well, it's like they turned the Droid phone line into a theme, right? And that's what sucks about it. Like, instead of it just being awesome Android phones, it's a theme. It's like a robotic, futuristic, stupid theme. When if they would ditch all that, make something clean and pretty, they could still put Droid on it, and then people might, take it seriously again. Somebody asked me, though, in the chat before the show what I thought between that and the Nexus 6, and I basically decided that if the Droid Turbo didn't have capacitive buttons, I might consider that as my next phone. Like, if it had on-screen, even though it has the ugly Kevlar crap on the back, if it had on-screen buttons, because of all of the specs and the massive 3,900 milliamp hour battery, I kind of want that in my life. It would be, I would put up with the Kevlar if it had on-screen buttons, but it doesn't. It's weird that on-screen.
The specs are amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the specs are insane. They're as good as the Nexus 6.
They're better.
Yeah, I mean it has a 20 meg. Yeah, I mean it has a 20 megapixel camera in it, so that's technically upgraded. We'll see if it shoots better pictures, but yeah. But it has capacitive buttons. I can't do capacitive buttons. I like swiping up from home. I like going.
I think we're over capacitive buttons.
Yes, the world should be long. Well, Samsung's not. Everyone else is over them. Even HTC got over them this year, which was awesome.
But not OnePlus.
Yeah, but you can toggle those on and off. At least they're giving you an option. You know what I mean? Like if the Droid. Yeah, but see, that's another thing that bugs me about this Turbo is it added size to the phone. Like it added a section of the phone. Like it could have been basically Moto X sized with a 3,900 milliamp hour battery. It would have just felt like a cushion in your hand. I mean, you could. This thing's got. There were some pictures that came out this week from Android Spin, and it just looks round and like bubbly. It probably feels really cool in hand, but it would have been just slightly shorter if they didn't have those damn capacitive buttons on there.
Mm.
Yeah, might have been my next phone.
Could have been.
Not with those capacitive buttons. Sorry, DROID Turbo. But a lot of people are still really excited, though. Our readers are really excited about that phone. Rightfully so. I get it. It's got like 3-day battery life or something. Well, probably not because it has a quad HD display, but 3,900 milliamp hour battery? That's bigger than some tablets, I think. It's bigger than Nexus 6. So
Yeah, by almost 1,000 milliamps. So
yeah, which
I
is
don't know what they did. They worked some magic. It's probably why it's a little bulky on the back, but
yeah.
hey, I'll put up with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, people strap those. All the iPhone people do it. What are those really terrible battery cases that iPhone users use?
Oh, I can't think of the name, but
What are those things called? There's a couple of Android versions, but only for like the Galaxy S4. What are those things called? You guys are both drawing blanks too.
yeah, I can't think of it right off. My friend uses one, but I just can't think of the name.
Yeah, like all iPhone users do that
Yeah.
have a job where they don't like sit in front of a computer all day.
Yeah, wall hookers.
Anyways, I can't remember. Somebody in the chat probably knows. But yeah, people attach those things. I'd rather just have it built in and have a little bit
It's a
puffier.
Mophie juice.
Yes, the
whatever.
juice.
Yeah,
The Mophie juice thing.
pack, whatever.
Yes, that's what they are. Mophie.
Mophie.
So yeah, next week we'll have Droid news, and should be fun. Should be fun. Let's see what else is going on. Tim and I had some reviews up just in the last day, actually. So he reviewed the Galaxy Alpha, which is Samsung's little mini metal phone, and I reviewed the Xperia Z3 Compact. So we both kind of went from massive phones down to like the little mini guys that are in this like new. Because the Galaxy Alpha is not a mini, so Samsung's mini phones were all crappy because they were like low spec knockoff versions of their flagships. The Galaxy Alpha is not; it actually has good specs. Xperia Z3 Compact, same thing. It's the small version of the Z3, but it's not like the mini terrible version. It actually has good specs. So, Tim, you want to talk about the Alpha? Sort of some final thoughts there.
Ooh, final thoughts on the Alpha? Yeah, the Alpha's pretty nice. My favorite thing I want to take away from the Alpha is the hardware design. They've been moving into this chamfered edges, with the metal sides, and it feels great in hand. It looks gorgeous. And another thing I like about it is with the design, you can actually stand the phone up, kind of like an iPhone. Not a 6 or a 6 Plus, but with the iPhone 5 and the 5S, and the 4 and the 4S, I believe. You could stand it up, and I think for some reason that's cool. It's just something different, Of course, my experience was completely hindered by the jank that is TouchWiz, and that is just the worst. It has decent specs: Snapdragon 801, 2 gigs of RAM. Should be a good little phone. Unfortunately, it just couldn't hold up to TouchWiz. TouchWiz just brought it to its knees in terms of performance. There was lag all over the place. Everything was stuttering. Taking pictures, it was just the camera's decent in certain occasions. Overall, it's a good looking phone. It's definitely not a good performing phone. And as we saw with the Note 4, which also features this metallic kind of chamfered edges, I'm really hoping that Samsung sticks with that design because I'm over the plastic stuff. So for the Galaxy S6, I'm really hoping to kind of stick with that design language. And Galaxy Alpha, the hype was a little too much for it. It's no iPhone killer. It's just ridiculous. So, and the thing's battery life was mediocre. So, I came away kind of disappointed, but I had fun using it. Now I'm on to this beast, and it's hard to use sometimes. But
Yeah, you went from like opposite ends. You went from the smallest little Samsung phone to the Note 4, the big boy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
Well, so Galaxy Alpha. Basically, you're saying you probably shouldn't buy the Galaxy Alpha.
no, I wouldn't recommend it. My girlfriend really liked it. She's got the smallest little hands, even smaller than my hands, and she loved it. She was like, "Oh, this is like the perfect phone." I was like, "Okay, good to know." She enjoyed it, but I wouldn't let her get it just because I know the battery life is such crap.
Yeah.
So I try not to recommend any phone to anyone where I think the battery life is going to not do so well or it's going to end up janky, essentially. Like that's why I always tell my mom, just get an iPhone. That way I don't have to deal with you. But she'll complain to me about these problems, and yeah, I just don't want to deal with that. So everyone, get an iPhone.
Yeah.
Unless you can afford a Nexus 6. I know it's really expensive, but if you can afford it, it's a good one.
So I reviewed finally the Xperia Z3 Compact. I like the phone for the most part. Like Tim, I had some issues with the skin. So I don't know what Sony calls their skin, but it definitely has some lag here and there. It's definitely not as bad as TouchWiz, but it's ugly. The skin is. I mentioned in my review that the first thing I did was put in my Google account and then install a third-party launcher and Google Keyboard, because Sony's keyboard and their launcher is just a terrible experience. But overall, though, like the battery life on this phone, battery life's pretty awesome. You can easily go over a day, and I think it's a 2600 milliamp hour battery, so it's not huge by any means, but it'll just go and go and go. And Sony does some really cool things with their power management. You can basically completely customize power management settings. Have some apps work in the background, some things turn off, some things not. It's actually really nice. The camera, so I took a bunch of pictures, and I really like the quality of the pictures it takes. And it has a 20.7 megapixel sensor. It's probably the same sensor that's going to be in the DROID Turbo. It takes really nice pictures, but Sony's camera software is really slow. It's kind of slow to launch the camera. If you tap on the video record button, there's seriously like a 5 or 6 second delay. I should time it actually, just so I know for sure. But you hit the button and you have to sit there and wait and wait and wait, and then it finally flips over and switches to video. I would imagine they could fix that with a software update, but it's pretty bad right now. Overall, though, the phone, the display for being a 720p display, and on a Sony phone who typically uses terrible displays, really really nice 720p display. Phone obviously feels amazing in hand because it's a smaller little phone. I don't know, I really like it. I've switched over to a Moto X again now, and I'm already kind of missing this phone because it's one of those phones that actually fits in your hand. So, anyway, Z3 Compact. I would tell people to actually consider buying this phone if you want a smaller phone. It's just the only place you can buy it right now is on Sony's store, and it's $530, which is not a bad price, but you can't buy it on contract or with a payment plan or anything like that. But if you want to spend $530 to have a smaller phone, this is probably the one to get. It's a pretty nice little phone. So that's all I have to say about that phone. Nice. The Xperia Z3V is officially available today from Verizon. We don't have one. I totally forgot that thing existed and was coming out. So if you guys want coverage of the Z3V, we're going to try to have that for you soon. We just kind of were wrapped up in doing bajillions of Lollipop and Nexus things and Droid things and other stuff. So
yeah, sadly it's loaded with bloatware from what I hear, which is not unexpected, but disappointing all the same.
I would imagine, because this Z3 Compact is filled with Sony's terrible bloatware that I just wanted to erase from the world. So if you add Sony's abundance of bloatware with Verizon's, it's got to be ugly. It's got to be. Thankfully, that phone comes with 32 gig of storage internally out of the box, so you probably start with 18 or something because of all the bloatware. But yeah, so we'll try to get one in house to talk about. I know people are sort of excited because the Z3 is a beastie phone. Let's see. We mentioned Tim has a Galaxy Note 4 finally, so I know we haven't posted a review or anything yet. We do finally have one in house for whatever reason we don't need to talk about. Tim has one though. We'll have a review coming, and look forward to that. Let's see what else. Oh, I have a G-Watch R. G-Watch R in house. Initial impressions of the G-Watch R. It's a little bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's definitely not as pretty as the Moto 360. I mean, not even close. But it definitely feels premium. I mean, it's probably the second best Android Wear watch you could buy. It definitely looks more like a watch than all of these square watches we saw for a while. It does have this I should do this in quotes, calfskin leather watch band, which really just feels like a fake plasticky leather watch band. So who knows if it'll soften up over time and get nice, but right now. It feels terrible. But I'm excited for this device because it uses this plastic OLED display, which should be fun to see how that goes. Battery life, I would imagine, is going to be awesome. And performance is going to be awesome because it actually uses a current processor, unlike the Moto 360. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a bad watch. I definitely don't. This isn't a design I would choose, but I could see how people could like it. It's definitely a premium look and sort of feel. So yeah, we have a G-Watch R in house. It's coming, Tim. It's coming to the UK in November or something like that. That was announced today.
Yeah, like France, UK, I think Germany, overseas essentially, sometime in early November, and then rolling out to North American territories shortly after that. Okay. So, yeah, they refuse to give us a date. Or price. So whatever, dude. I'm over the G-Watch R. Just due to their lack of information for consumers. It's quite silly. I mean, they announced the thing, months ago now, it feels like?
August, yeah.
And they just refuse to solidify anything. Like, why do companies do this to themselves?
I mean, it exists. Like, I have one.
You have one.
You can buy them in Korea.
And how many, I don't know what type of form of currency they use in Korea.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It does exist, and we have one. So if you guys want to know anything about it or have us test anything in particular, but
it's in English?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good. Does it come out of the box in English?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, when I set it up and it said, like Android Wear, the first setup screen, it chooses like a language. It said English. Didn't say I didn't have to scroll to find English. So.
Wicked.
Yeah, the watch faces on this thing are terrible, by the way. They're all like faux brushed metal, but it's like a digital, image. Like it's the stupidest thing ever. I definitely need to install Facer or something like pronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. So we got that. We'll get into that more later on. In other big news, Google randomly released a new email client this week that was created by the Gmail team. And it's called Inbox. And so Inbox, well, it's a lot like Mailbox. If you haven't played with Mailbox, it's basically an app that's been on iOS for a while, then came to Android, now also has a Mac client that you can install. But it sort of takes a different approach to email. Basically, it makes it more of like a task or a task management system where you get an email and you look at it as a task and you decide whether or not you're done with it, or maybe you want to get back to it later so you can snooze it, or you can put it in lists or whatever. So it takes sort of a different approach to email. And Google's Inbox, it basically does the same thing. But it's really pretty. And it has a web client and iOS and Android apps. And unfortunately, it only works on personal Gmail accounts right now. No Google apps. And it's invite only, except no one actually has invites except Googlers and like special Google people that are friends with Google people or something. So you can't use it. I have it. Tim, you have it, I believe. Kyle, did you ever get an Inbox invite?
Nope. So.
Yeah, and I would send you one if I had them, but they don't give them to anyone. So.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Tim, have you been using it at all?
I used it for 5 minutes just because they don't let you use it on GApps accounts.
No, they don't.
So it's worthless. Because I use my Droid Life account as my primary, so everything else I have tied to my regular Gmail account is just like nothing. Bills. That's about it. So it's worthless. But it looks fantastic.
It does look fantastic. Like when you talk about Lollipop and the animations and stuff in between everything.
Oh yeah.
Inbox is just like from everything. There's an animation for everything. It's one of the most well done apps I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. My primary Gmail app, and I did like this big hands-on thing with it yesterday. That was like my personal Gmail app that I don't really use that much because I use most things with my Droid Life account. And so like I haven't really got to use it. I also like Mailbox a little bit better because Mailbox does like a single inbox of all your accounts. So even when Inbox gets G-Apps accounts, I still have to go in and like switch between accounts to deal with emails rather than just one inbox, which is kind of annoying. And since it's called Inbox, I feel like everything should go into one inbox if you want it to, but maybe Google will give us that choice at some point. Maybe not. Cool app though, but yeah, no one can use it.
Yeah, I hate waiting for that type of stuff. And it's the same thing with certain Google Now cards. Like I can't use my Google Apps account to do flight statuses and ship
Right.
package shipments and all that stuff. I have to forward it to a different account just to get it through Google Now. I don't know what the deal is. Is it like a security thing, because it's like an enterprise deal or something like?
Maybe.
Just
Maybe
fix
I
it,
need to
Google.
turn that on. I don't think so. Maybe.
No, I don't think so because it tells you like your network or organization is not ready for this or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Big
The
Google gods.
interesting thing is, a lot of people were worried, like, well, what does this mean for Gmail? Gmail's not going anywhere because inbox it's a totally different way of looking at your email. And
But why? Like, don't you understand how idiotic that sounds? Like it's a separate like email app from your email app, but it
Yes.
just shows you emails.
Yes.
I don't get it. Why does it have to be separate?
Because I would just say because it's so different than your regular Gmail that Google couldn't like force this on everyone. Everyone would freak out and leave, and they would go use Outlook or something. Like I think people actually would freak out if they were forced into this. Like it took me a while. I've been using Mailbox for a few months now. It took me a little while to get used to it. Now, like I prefer looking at email that way, where you like snooze things and swipe things away, rather than just having them sit in your inbox, just looking at you day after day. So.
Yeah, and I'm not sure power users will ever want to switch to something like Inbox because they like to, manage every aspect of the experience. Whereas Inbox is supposed to be a hands-off sort of thing. You're supposed to let Google intelligently search your mail and figure out flight information, that kind of thing. So yeah, which is probably why the Gmail app is getting a pretty great update too, I guess. Which Android at least reported the other day. So yeah, I think they're just going to coexist for the foreseeable future, at least.
Yeah, and that makes sense that they should. I don't think they're going to force everyone into these different. And Inbox was created by the Gmail team, so clearly the Gmail team said, well, let's think of a different way to deal with email and kind of let people choose maybe what they want to do. So yeah, it's cool though. I like it. I just wish I could really use it to decide if it's something I could use or not. But I use Mailbox, so I could see myself using Inbox. It just needs to be here for Google Apps. So. Let's see. Does anyone have any apps or games they want to talk about?
I feel yes. Yeah, I would like to discuss one app that I've been playing quite heavily.
Okay.
The app is called Lex, L-E-X, capital L-E-X. And it's a word shuffle puzzle, basically. So it gives you a line of letters, and it's kind of like what's that game? Jumble with your Boggle. Is it like Boggle? Yeah. So it gives you certain letters, and you have to find words out of these letters, and letters have timers assigned to them, and you have to use all the letters before they run out of time and explode on you. So I'm a total whiz at it stuff, that type of game, just because I love words. But yeah, it's a really good game. I believe it costs 99 cents on Google Play. Totally worth it. Has some really cool animations. It's not just some like cheap word puzzle game. Like some really good development went into this. There's some really cool sounds. So highly recommend it. Lex, L-E-X. You can't miss it, and it's a good one. Check it out for sure.
I just wanted to point out, in my Xperia Z3 compact review, everyone wanted to know what wallpaper I was using. So there's this icon pack called Flare, F-L-A-I-R, and it's an awesome icon pack, by the way. All the icons are kind of material design inspired, and a lot of them were pretty on point for what Google was going to do with their icons, like long before any of that stuff was official. But they have some really cool wallpapers, and that's where I got it from. But if I would use it as my icon pack as well, or just for the wallpapers in general. So yeah, it's called Flare, F-L-A-I-R. Really nice app. Yeah. So anything else anyone wants to talk about? Looks like we're about an hour in.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Yeah, our daytime show. Look, it's still light out here. If we had done this at our normal time, Tim and I would be in the dark dungeons.
Oh, it gets dark at 5 p.m. now, and plus we had a solar eclipse just a moment ago, so
We had a nasty thunderstorm knock the power out right before the show came on. Didn't even know if I was going to do it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say I don't know why, you didn't really allow me a chance to give my first impressions of the Galaxy Note 4.
Oh, yeah. Did you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, just real quickly, there's just a couple of things, because the phone's already available and everyone else in the world has already reviewed it, but there was just a few things that maybe Droid lifers would want to hear.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to skip over that. Let's do it.
I mean, it's only the Note 4, one of the biggest phones of the year. No big deal. So, Super AMOLED QHD display is totally legit. If you had any doubts about Samsung's ability to push out a display with 2560 by 1440 resolution, don't worry about it. It's totally great. I have the Android L wallpaper. And on another note, I love the Android L wallpapers. I'm sorry if you don't. That's your prerogative. But I like them. The camera, 16 megapixel with OIS technology on the back, totally awesome. Works great. I find that the fingerprint scanner on the Note 4 works a tad bit better than it does on the S5, which, who knows, I don't know if it's any different. I think it's the same scanner, but for some reason it seems a little less janky to me, for lack of a better term. TouchWiz sucks. Slows down my performance. I mean, this thing has an 805 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, and the performance still lags.
Really? It's still
not very good. I don't know what the deal is. Although I will say one thing about TouchWiz that they did right is the whole multitasking through apps and how it's kind of like the card view on Lollipop. That's sick. Like, good job, Samsung. You did one thing right so far with TouchWiz in the few years it's been out. Congratulations.
Is that only on the Note 4? Like the Alpha didn't have that new version, right? Okay.
Nope. So I've only seen it on the Note 4. It'll probably be on the Note or the S6, or I'm guessing the S6 will launch with Lollipop. I'm really excited to see what Samsung thinks they're going to do with Lollipop. I mean, like, how are we going to butcher it? But it should be good.
They will butcher it.
Yeah. Other than that, the camera's good, display is good, battery life is phenomenal. I mean, a solid day and a half, and I play games, take a lot of pictures. During our review time with it, we usually use our phones quite a bit. So I've been super impressed by almost dropped it, man. I'm like shaking now. So far, I'm super impressed with it. But of course, we do have one. It has those chamfered edges. So again, if anyone has questions about the Note 4. If you haven't read everyone else's review by now, ask us on Twitter. I'd be happy to answer your questions about it. But the review is coming. I'd like to have it up within the next few days or so.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch speaking of that, we just have a whole bunch of reviews coming. Like, we just did the Alpha and the Z3 Compact. Like, I have a Moto Hint reviewing. Tim's got the Note 4. Then it'll probably be Turbo, Nexus 6, Nexus 9, Nexus Player. Like, there's Z3V. There's this huge list of stuff that needs to come through. So if you're in the market for a new phone or tablet or Android accessory or anything, lots of stuff coming up, which is going to be kind of fun. We're just not going to have lives for the next month and a half, which is fine, I guess.
I never had a life to begin with, so it's okay.
So sad.
Yeah.
All right, so anything else?
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Episode 71. And next week, I'm traveling for Droid stuff, so we might not have a show unless we do, like, maybe another Thursday. We'll talk about it. We'll let you guys know. Otherwise, though, yeah, lots of stuff coming up, so stay close to the site. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks for sure. Oh, and then we also have 5.0 updates for all those Nexus devices, so it's going to be fun. Lots of stuff. Again, yeah, thanks for joining us. Episode 71. Peace.
Bye, Cap.
Bye, Tim.